Hello people in YouTube land, welcome to an update from Hacker Hospital on Martin's Cavalier. Right, got it apart and my findings. Somebody's been in here before. Do you remember we had the distorted audio that it made, you know, when it croaked its heart to death? Sorry. Yeah, somebody's taken the speaker out, and the reason I can tell this, they've taken it out and replaced it. They've done no damage, so this, you know, it's no problem. There's normally, I've taken the speaker wires off which connect on here, but underneath there's always a grounding wire that goes from there onto a point on the back of the you know, the controls that sit in that hole there, volume, bass and treble. They always connect, that little wire always connects onto this little tag there. That's what it's meant for. Now that I found floating in the breeze, it's come off the bottom of the speaker. It's like it when I opened it up. And what somebody's done is they have, I haven't pulled it out yet, but this screening around the back of the on-off volume switch, they have they put a screwdriver in there and they've opened that split up and they've wedged it in there for some reason. They must have thought, oh, you know, they put the speaker back in, it must have been sticking up in the breeze. I thought, oh, that goes somewhere. It's on the chassis of the speaker, it must be a ground. I need a ground. Made a hole in there and poked it in there, whereas it should go on the pin underneath. So that, I know somebody's been in there. Also, the retaining clips for the valves, they were sitting in the base, all three of them. You know, they're designed to go on top of the valves and they secure them into their holders to stop them falling out, you know, whilst they're in transit, to stop working loose. Well, somebody's been in through the access panel on the back and obviously flipped these over, pulled the valves out, and they're just falling out their little holes. They do come out easily. When they're in there, they won't come out, but you know, once you release them, they fall out very easily. So yeah, they'll go back on. The valve on the right hand side, I've given a quick wipe. The other two are still dirty. Of course they're dirty. They've had, you know, a lot of air movement over them and no maintenance. So that's the valves. Right, back to the panel again on the front, or on the side on this one. You know, I mentioned in the previous video about the changing the control knobs for Martin. Reason being, the volume control had a big chunk out the side already, and some of them are missing their hats, and they're very brittle. You know, plastic, when you imagine some of these machines, some have been stored in lofts and garages that freeze in the winter and bake in the summer. And plastic becomes very brittle in those conditions. You know, if you find a player that's been under grandma's bed for the last 30-40 years, or on top of auntie's wardrobe or something like that, in an even temperature, you know, same humidity, you know, a nice cool environment with, you know, low light, you will find this type of thing still like brand new. But you know, some of them, they're very brittle, so that's why we're replacing those with the later style, you know, shiny knobs, which are made out of an alloy. You know, they're metal and they're nice and shiny. So there we are, that's that. Right, where that knob broke off, there's obviously a shaft still on there, which, you know, I can't stick a screwdriver in there and try and use it as a pry bar to get it out, because I'll this is perspex and I don't want to crack it or split that. The other knobs will have to come off as well. Best way to get old knobs off is to sometimes squirt a bit of some type of lubricant behind them and you know, leave it for a while, just a tiny little amount, and if you can, and then you know, put a piece of string round or a piece of cord, get it underneath, and try and pull them off. Try and get a bit of purchase on there, because you don't want to break the potentiometers trying to force them off either. These are on there very hard, so but they'll come off somehow, or they'll break off or whatever. But I'll take this off and I'll use my Dremel and I'll cut down the sides to you know, take this off in two halves, because we want to do repairs, not damage. There's the bulb inside there that lights up. Well, that bulb's over 50 years old and that's nice and black. It is still working, but it's gone black, as a lot of incandescent bulbs of this size do when they've been used for a long time. So that'll be replaced. Also same with the matching amplifier, always change the bulbs. Right, so that's that. Now, valves, a quickie on valves. There's three types of valves. You know, for usual applications, you've got switching valves. There's no switching valves in this. There's rectifier valves. This is the rectifier. This changes AC to DC voltage. It's a full wave rectifier. It's an EZ80. There's the audio amplifying valves, for the push-pull amplifier. They are, you know, ECL86s. These ones are actually mullards, so they're lovely. They're actually yellow mullards. I've given this one on this side a wipe. If you do clean these and you've never cleaned them before, you know, don't go scrubbing at them because you rub the writing off. I just go over with a baby wipe and just give them a very gentle softening and wiping, so I don't take any writing off. The writing's actually on the other side. So there we are. Right, now, very quickly about valves, because I need to sort of explain it to you that oh dear, I wish I could speak, that don't understand. Those of you that do, I apologise. because I want to talk about the distorted audio and the reason for it. Now, valves, they're made of glass. They've got a vacuum inside. They're called, you know, vacuum tubes or valves, whatever you want to call them. And they're very simple. They've got very basic, simple valve technology. You've got the little parts inside that glow. You know, when they warm up, they glow orangey red colour. They're called filaments. And when those filaments glow, what they do is they heat a part called the cathode. I mean, earlier valves, the cathode and the filaments were the same thing. But these valves, they've got the filament heats the cathode. When it heats the cathode starts to produce a stream of electrons. In the valve, there's a part called an anode, which is positively charged, and it attracts this stream of electrons towards it. So, what happens then? The audio, the minute voltage from the cartridge, is sent up the tone arm through the bottom of the deck, connects onto the wiring, which goes basically into the valves eventually. And when it goes into the valves, this minute voltage from the cartridge then gets into this stream of electrons, and when it's collected on the anode, it gets amplified. So imagine like smoke going up a chimney. It whoosh, it goes up with it, and it comes out the other end stronger. That's very basic audio valve. These are trio-pento. They do a bit more than that, but I'm not going to do a long-winded explanation of those. Now I'm going to quickly switch the player on, and as I do, I'm going to give you the most biggest word of caution I possibly can. Do not switch these things on and go in there if you don't know what you're doing, or if there's somebody with you. You know, this is like Blue Peter saying, come on children, only use plastic scissors. Really, you know, if you put your hand in there and touch anything, you're going to go bang. Your arm's going to go black, you're going to go shooting across the room, and you could stop your heart, you could die. So please, please do not, if you don't know what you're doing, go in there with the mains on live. So, if you can imagine, I said about the stream of electrons and the amplification of the audio signal. Now, there are certain capacitors that do certain jobs in these amplifiers, and one of the main culprits of this situation are the capacitors that connect to the grid. They're there to filter out unwanted DC voltage, because you do not want DC voltage in the grid of the valve. So this is now pretty much warmed up. You can see the old filaments are glowing away happily. That EZ80 looks... once the glass is clean, that'll be lovely and clean. It's not black inside or anything, it's just literally dirt on it. So the valves are glowing away nicely. Now, if all was well, we would look at the meter, which I've got connected. I'm not going to go in there probing around, but I've got a couple of test points connected, and there should be no stray voltage there at all. And I'm looking on the 100 volt scale, and we're looking around about 14 volts of DC voltage. Now, we don't want any there at all, and when the capacitors are changed, there will be no DC voltage there. All these capacitors are over 50 years old, and I will be changing the vast majority of them, the cathode bypass capacitors and the grid coupling capacitors. There's a couple on the you know, the tone network that are wax caps, they'll be coming out, and so on and so on. So there we are, that's an update on that. I'm going to turn it off before I make this a very exciting video and go shooting over the room myself. You'd laugh at me, wouldn't you? You would, so I'm not going to do it. Nah. Right, the turntable, the automatic side of it, that's a breeze to fix, no problem with that. You know, it's just because it's all stuck. And the, you know, stuck with hard grease, the old thing. I just take everything apart and clean it all, put it back together again, and just check it all. And it will be fine, be like a clockwork watch. Now, you can see on here, the deck has actually, you've got the securing screws, you know, that the transit screws that you turn down to hold the deck, because it's sprung, to hold it against the motorboard, which is at the back, you know, to stop it rattling around and jumping up and down whilst you carry the machine around, because it is a portable player. Now, somebody's not done that at some time, or for probably a lot of the time, and they've you know, they've carried it around all over the place, and it's actually twisted the metal and on both of them and taken the paint off. You know, somebody else has probably put a screw, you know, a coin in there or something to lock them down or do something like that, and they've actually caught the twisted metal. So, but I can straighten those out, and it's only metal. You can straighten anything if you try. And I shall, you know, mix a bit of paint up and do a bit of, you know, bit of touch up on there and a bit of polishing up, and I shall virtually get rid of that. Right. So that's the update. Once I finish this video, I shall start put the old soldering iron on, and I shall start taking bits out and putting bits in and bringing these back to the way they should be. I've got to do exactly the same thing to the matching amplifier, which has got exactly the same amplifier, which will be suffering all the same fate, even though it did make a bit of a squawk on its own, you know. So there we are. So that's a quick update on that. And when I come back, I'm going to require a little tiny bit of audience participation, if you wouldn't be so kind. I want to play some music, but it's obviously got to be something that I like and you're able to tolerate. Tolerate, isn't that a good word? So I'm going to give you 3 options, 3 choices, you know, songs that I've decided. And if you'd like to leave a comment down there underneath the video window in the comments section telling me which one of the 3, if nobody comments and nobody says, I should just play whatever I choose, because I can. So here we go. I have prepared very quickly with the workshop audio system. Do I carry on with the artist that I started off this player squawking away with?
Ladies and gentlemen, Russ Conway.
Hey, Russ Conway! You can't beat Russ Conway. Period music from the age of this player. Do we go for a bit of Russ Conway? Or we could go for something from the other side of the pond, the big pond. Bit of Lawrence Welk with a tune that I love in stereo, Calcutta. Oh, it sounds lovely on a hacker. Look, I'm pulling a few moves here. Must hold the camera still. Bit of Calcutta. Or, oops, do we go for, I've got it behind me, do we go for some brand new vinyl? Those of you, the younger people out there, what about a bit of, just got this, Foster the People, Pumped Up Kicks. Sound great on a vintage machine. Nice bit of music. I love this. It's great. So there we are. What do? I need your help. Down there in the comments section, Russ Conway, Lawrence Welk, or Foster the People. If anybody says I hate all of it, nah. Anyway, right. Thank you very much for watching. You take care of yourselves. I'll speak to you soon. Goodbye.